Welcome, everyone. Okay, why don't we go ahead and start, and I will let people in as they get here. So I think we know everyone here. Arturo and Silvia, we're from Escobar Homes Team. We have a real estate business, and we love to help people find their home and sell their home if they're looking for a home. But what we realize sometimes is that when people are looking for a house, what they really mean is that they're looking for a home and they want to make a home for their families. So we love family. Family is a big part of our passion, and so we try to bring things to our clients and to our friends that are really helpful for their families. So we have a newsletter that goes out every week, and it has information on real estate and also on home and articles on family. So if you registered, so you'll be getting one if you're not getting it yet. You'll be getting one probably this week or next. And so today we have 3 guests that will be helping with some of the things that we need as families, we need as for our own families and for our own well-being. And so I will let Arturo now introduce them.
You know, just a side note, we do classes, Christian classes for families. Mm-hmm. On Zoom and in presence too at church. And every time we do the classes, we start with prayers, right? So I feel like I have the urge to pray in the first one. So just be blessed, all of you, okay? So yeah, we have Yvette Garcia, Antonio Alva, and Brian Fernandez. We are going to introduce each one of them, but we're going to start right now with Brian Fernandez. Brian specializes in handling all type of real estate transactions and estate planning matters. Brian is fluent in Spanish. He is a Latino born in the US that speaks very good Spanish. And we as a family and also as a business are very, very blessed to have Brian in our resource group to help our clients. Brian graduated from Urban Champaign University, and then went to at Northern Illinois University and got his degree as an attorney. I know Brian personally, and I know is a trust, loyal person. And tonight, he's got a subject that is going to speak to us, not only individually, but as a family, to help us create peace among as families, and also administrate the gifts, the blessings that God has given us, and protect them also. And in the middle of all of those situations, avoid problems and avoid difficult circumstances. So Brian is with you. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Arturo. Thank you for that kind presentation. It's funny because as you were speaking, you know, how we actually met is Arturo actually sold my family, you know, our house. It's actually the house that I'm in right now. Arturo actually helped us with this. So thank you for that, Arturo. And just as you spoke about prayer, I just remembered. So long story short, you know, I like Arturo said, I went to undergrad, got my undergrad degree, and then I went to law school. And in order to become an attorney, after you do 3 years of law school, you have to take this exam. It's called the bar exam. And quite possibly it was the worst experience of my life. To this day, I still wake up at night thinking about it, because essentially it was 2 months. It was 8 weeks of studying day and night, 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, 4th of July came through, my birthday came through, and I was indoors studying. And days before the exam, I actually would go to Willow Creek. And that was like my little safe space where I would go and study. And I remember one of those days I just happened to to run into Arturo, and it was one of those days where I was freaking out, and I was just like, Arturo, can you just pray for me? And and he prayed for me. So it was just a kind of a beautiful little memory I just had, because actually this week is 2 years. It was November 10th that it's been 2 years now that I became a licensed attorney. So I just want to thank you. No, I just want to thank you for that, because that was like I said, it was a beautiful memory that I have. So thank you for all your help, and obviously all the help with my family. But all right, back to business. But yeah, guys. So essentially, what I want to talk to you guys tonight about is so like Arturo said, I'm a real estate attorney. So Arturo and I, we work together, and Silvia, we work with home sales, home purchases. I help them with that transactional part. But another aspect of what I do, so we do estate planning, meaning we help people with their wills and with their trusts. And so I guess something that I just want to know, so do any of you actually have a will or have a trust? I think that's just kind of something that for my own, I just want to see or know if anybody here has one. No? Okay.
No, we don't have one.
Okay, perfect. And honestly, like, and I guess it's normal, right? In our community, it's normal, and unfortunately, it's normal, because I think it's something that as I said earlier, that I think trust and wills in our community is just something that we don't talk about, right? And I don't know if it's like a discomfort factor. But I really think it's just a lack of knowledge, and it's not that we don't want to know about it, but I honestly just feel like there's not that much information out there regarding the importance of having a will or having a trust, to, like how Arturo said, to protect our families, to protect the hard work that that we put into building our homes and our bank accounts, and building our estate, essentially, right? To have that protected and allowing our future generations to have a starting point that we didn't necessarily have for ourselves. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the importance of having a will, right? So essentially, a big reason why a will is important is having that plan in advance for when we pass away. Right? It's one of those things that, like, hey, listen, 1 out of 1 are going to pass away, right? So it's something we know is going to happen. We don't like to think about it, but we know it's going to happen, right? And it's uncomfortable to think about. Nobody likes to think about it, but it's just one of those things that, what better gift can we leave our families than for us to have a plan in action? So when that day does come, there's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of emotions from those around us, but at least we can have something in play where we already know what we want done, essentially, from whether it be a burial, cremation, right? That is one big reason. But a second reason is, well, what's going to happen with all of our stuff, right? What's going to happen with the cars? What's going to happen with the house? What's going to happen with the bank accounts? So that's just something that it's planning ahead, knowing that that's going to provide some peace, comfort to those that we leave behind to deal with all these things, right? And something that we don't even think about, but as I mentioned earlier, is some of the biggest arguments that I've seen that people literally go to court over is items that are sentimental. So in a will, we like to include anything that's personal property. So meaning objects, right? So jewelry, cars. We also include bank accounts. So all of those items, we can leave it designated for who do we want to have these items, right? Because what happens if we don't have a plan in place? Well, guess what? The court's going to be the one deciding for you. And, do you want somebody else making these decisions for you? Somebody else is going to decide for you what's going to happen with everything that you worked your entire life so hard for, And I think who better than for us that work hard for what we have to decide as to who's going to get it, or where's it going to go, right? So that's one big thing. And wills are not complicated. They don't have to be complicated. Essentially, it's the logistics of it is we have a brief conversation. I send you a questionnaire, you fill it out. Based on that questionnaire, I have a better sense of what kind of items you have, what kind of plan, what would be best for your particular case. I draft the will. I have you come into my office. We review it together. Make sure that you're happy with how everything looks. We sign it. We notarize it. We seal it. I give you the copy. I give you the original. I have a copy, and that's it. In two meetings, we can have this all taken care of. And it's something that doesn't have to be very expensive. So our offices, we start with for just a standard will at $375, which I think is very affordable. It's something very that you can say, I mean, you can shop around, but I think we do have very reasonable pricing. But then something else is that for in Illinois, and I don't know too many people that know this, but essentially if your estate is over $100,000 and which means for a lot of our families, you know, that $100,000 is easy to reach, you know, if you have a property, right? If you have the equity in your house is already over $100,000. And if you're the only one on title for that property and you pass away, then what happens to that property? Well, now you're looking at that by law, you have to go through probate court. And probate court essentially means you have to go through the actual court process for them to determine what's going to happen to that property, right? And when you do that process, you're talking about, you know, in excess of $15,000 in court costs and court fees. Why? Because it's multiple appearances by an attorney. It's not like it's a one-day thing. And again, court fees, attorney fees. So you're just going to see, you know, your estate essentially is going to be depleted by, or a portion, right, is going to be depleted by just those attorney fees. And the reason behind that is just a lack of preparation, you know, a lack of planning. And so that's one big item, right? And the second thing is for a lot of our families that have children that are minors, well, you know, I think it's something, again, we don't like to think about it, but hey, if mom is gone, if dad is gone, what happens to the kids? And an automatic assumption that we have, I believe, is that, oh, you know, la tía, el tío, grandma, grandpa, somebody will take them in, right? Well, that's not necessarily how the state is going to handle it, because the state is going to be looking for the best interest of the child, meaning that until they determine who is the best fit to have custody of those children, the state is actually going to pick up the kids and the state's going to take them in, you know. So not only are you now that, you know, little boy, girl just lost parents, but now they're also being taken into this home, right? Essentially a home of strangers, and they're there, and it's not like a 1 day, 2 thing. You're talking weeks, right? Because the court has to determine where's the best place for these kids to be. So something that we can do is with a simple will, we can designate, you know, son and daughter. If something happens to mom and dad, they're going to go with aunt, they're going to go with grandma, they're going to go wherever. Okay. So then, meaning if something unfortunate does happen, well, we have that will, right? We have the will. We look at it. Okay, and the court's going to say, okay, who did mom and dad say that this child can go to? And the court is going to assume that the mom and dad have the best interests of the child in mind, and meaning that they're going to allow their children to be going to somewhere that's safe for them to be. And the court is still going to verify this information, right? But while they verify, the children are already with that person. So essentially, I mean, I don't have kids, but I can only imagine, like, as a parent hearing this, that my child is going to be put in a foster home for weeks until they figure out who can take care of them. Like, I think that would just kind of rattle my brain a little bit. And like I said, this is something simple that we can take care of, you know, before it happens. And like I said, it's unfortunate, but it's just being prepared for what can happen. Okay, so that's one facet of what I do with the wills. A second part is for a trust, right? And this trusts are usually for people that have that their estate is a little larger, right? So if your estate is over that $100,000, so like I know it's common in our communities that we become property investors, right? We get a house, our own house, and then we end up getting another house, we rent that out, and so on, right? So we start building. Well, and same thing that we talked about. So if your estate is over $100,000, well, now you're looking to go into probate, right? And the benefit of having a trust, and the best way that I can describe what a trust is think of this empty chair next to me as being the trust, okay? So property, meaning anything that has like a deed, so homes can be put into this trust, okay? And you can say that you're the manager of that trust. So then whatever you put into that trust is legally, technically not yours, right? This house, if I grab my house, I put it in this trust, in the name of this trust, It's not legally under my name anymore. Now it's in the name of this trust. But because it's in the trust, then that house is protected. If somebody ever tries to sue me personally, well, go ahead, go after everything I have, because everything that I have of value is in this trust. And they can't come after the trust. They can come after me. What are they going to get? My car? 2013. Go ahead. But what's in this house here, what's in this trust here is protected. And that's one big thing, right? Being protected. And not meaning that obviously that you're not going to have insurance on those items. No. But if say something very bad happened and now you're at, possibility of losing everything that you own, well, now you're protected within this trust. And another big thing, right, is say you do pass away. And how we talked about, if you don't have a will, you don't have a trust, you have to go through the court. Well, now if you pass away, and again, you can be the beneficiary of the trust, meaning you can be the owner of the trust, you can be the one managing the trust, you can be all parts of the trust. So now if something does happen in the future, again, that's protected. If you pass away in that trust, we can specifically put, okay, after this person passes away, well, now all the property that's in the trust, it's going to be sold. Half of it is going to go to the wife. The other half is going to go to the children, and so on. So you get the benefit of directing what's going to happen with all of your properties without having to have the court get involved and them taking, like I said, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars in court costs. So that's essentially, you're saving all of that by putting everything into that trust itself. Okay. And like I said, I'll be happy to talk to you guys more about it, how exactly a trust works or how a will works. But essentially, like I said, it's being protected, having a plan for the future. And, like Arturo said, is having everything that we worked so hard for, having the things that God has blessed us with, protecting all those items, right? Taking a couple of steps, investing a little bit of money up front so that we can pass it on for our future generations.
That's great. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Brian? And again, all of his information will be in the email that we send out to you with all of the things that he does, and you'll be able to contact him through there. So does anyone have any questions though today? All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Or do we have?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you.
We
have a question. Just right for the trust. What is the cost of having or working a trust with us?
So a trust, to start off the trust, it would be to do the actual trust itself, it's $700. And so again, that's a one-time fee. So once you have the trust, it's there for you, right? You don't have to pay any more attorney's fees in the future, none of that. So essentially, we help you construct the trust. It's there, it's yours. In the future, if we need to make any changes, we would just, again, make an appointment for that. And it also is something I didn't mention with the will, same thing, right? A will, you make your will. If in the future something changes, if you want to, change who this goes to, you acquire additional assets, that is something that we can always change to in the future.
Great.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Of course, thank you, guys.
Thank you. We continue with Antonio Alva. And Antonio went to University of Illinois, where he got his bachelor's and master's in accountancy and data analytics. Born and raised in Pilsen.
Yay.
But his parents are from Durango, pure Mexican blood, right? Big fan. His heart is in educating the community to give them a better understanding or a financial picture for their lives, so that we will, like Brian was saying, protecting the things that we own, the things that God has blessed us with, and pass them from generation to generation, creating wealth to pass it through the other generations. So he loves to do that. Part of his career is educating people. And we have another list of things that he does too. Comprehensive financial planning, retirement planning, estate planning, life insurance and long-term care and disability insurance, education funding, and investment strategies. So thank you for being here with us, Antonio, and take it.
Thank you for the introduction, Arturo. And to your point, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super passionate what I do because people need to know about this, right? It's out there in Google, hear about it, but you don't know where to start, who to go to, right? I went to school to get my CPA, my master in accountancy. And I thought I was doing it. I got my degree, I'm gonna make some money. But no one taught me how money should work for me, right? We're taught, and me, get a degree, make some money, but those stuff are not being taught. So when my dad passed away, he had no will, no choice, what Brian was saying. So that caused a lot of money paying court fees and mortgages. And I realized if my mom doesn't know about this stuff, I can imagine all Latinos who don't know about this stuff. So from there, and I left learning as CPA, I took my expertise, started my own practice as a financial advisor. So what I do as a financial advisor, I help clients reach their goals strategically, right? Because a lot of my clients, they're very successful people. They might have rental properties, investments, 401ks, and etc. But what I find is they don't have a strategic game plan around their goals. So that's why I come in. Hey, let's look at the pieces you have so far and have a game plan to be strategic around that way. All right. So a lot of what I do, guys, is I help clients save by design. Right? What does that mean? Some people might ask me, hey, Antonio, where should I be saving for my goals? Well, the better question becomes, when do you plan to take the money out, right? Because different accounts that's best in your goal. So when you go to the garage, I might ask you, hey, Arturo, are you need a screwdriver or a hammer? Like scratch your head, what are you gonna use it for, right? You wanna make sure you have account for each purpose. So for example, your checking account, great place for guaranteed money for emergencies, but it's not to keep up with inflation, right? We all know inflation is going up 3% year by year. Those carne asadas are going to get more expensive, but we only earn 0.01% in the bank, right? So we gotta think about elsewhere to save. So what most people save is they might put money in their 401k and their RAs, which is a great tool, right? That's money for retirement. You can't touch until the age of 6 years old. You get tax deductions now, or you might get tax deductions down the road. That's money you can earn between 8 to 12%, depending on how you invest it. But the only disadvantage, guys, is you can't touch the money before 6 years old. So that's what we help clients. You have money in your checking account, you have money in your 401k. What are you gonna do in the middle, right? What goals do you have? Is it buying a home, helping your kids go to college, open a business? Those are the goals I help my clients. And we'll talk about what vehicle is best for that strategy and what goal. So for example, if we were to help our kids go to college, most people say, hey, I'm gonna put money in my checking account and earn 0.01%. But there's things like a 529 plan, right? As an example, that's a great tool where people can tax deductions, can earn between 8 to 10% the way you invest it. And when they go to college, that money will be tax-free and you don't have to pay any taxes that way, right? So the tool, for example, pay for college education. Another tool that can be used, investments, like a portfolio. So has anyone heard about investment before in the past, guys? Yep. So the investment tool, investing. So the investment tool is a tool where clients save the midterm goals and short-term goals. So instead of you putting money in the bank and earn 0.01%, you might earn a portfolio that can earn between 5 to 12%. So over the last 30 years, people have earned between 10 to 12%. So you might hear, the richer get richer. It's true, because they know about these vehicles that we don't know about. We only know one spot. Put money in a colchon, put money in your savings account, that's it, right? But there's so much out there that we don't know about. Money's making money. So we gotta learn about that. So that's what we help clients think about, hey, what investment account can we use around our goals? So we gotta think about the risk as well. We're gonna assume investments, 529 plans, your 401k, your rental properties, your single family home. It's a great tool to save money. But we gotta think about the risk, right? We're gonna assume it's gonna go up every year. But what happened in 2020? The market dropped by negative 30%. What happened in 2008, right? Everyone was doing rental property, buying homes, but the market plummeted and no one has a game plan. What do you think most people do? They either take money out at a loss, which is the worst thing you can do, or you're forced to go back to work because all your money was in your 401k or your rental properties. Now you're stuck to wait until it recovers. So that's what we help clients save. Or else can we start saving money that's outside the market, right? So most people think, hey, well, I'm going to put money in my checking account. Well, it's a great tool. You can put money there, right? But you're going to earn 0.01%. So that's what we help clients build a savings account, like a whole life insurance that can earn 5% dividend rate. It's a tool that can grow tax efficiently. And when you take money out, it's also tax-free as well. So a lot of my clients in real estate like to use investments and insurance because they know cash is king. They need money for down payments. But if you put in the bank, you're not going to earn a lot of money. So you put money in an investment account that can earn 10%. Life insurance that can grow by 5%. That's money that's growing money by itself. So when they're ready, they take the money out, buy rental properties, flip it, buy new homes, or open new businesses. So now, instead of you working hard for your money, you want money to work hard for you. Right, so I'll stop here and just answer any questions. Go from there.
Anyone have any questions?
We have so many.
Go ahead.
A mí sí me gustaría saber más para cómo hacer trabajar el dinero. Sí soy un poco ignorante en eso. Sí me gustaría hablar con ustedes, Antonio, acerca de cómo hacerlo.
Con mucho gusto. Y mucha gente sabe que nunca lo he pensado al último. I had never thought about it before in the past, right? But the important thing is to start today, right? You don't want to say, hey, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start, after the holidays. The days keep going. That's less time you have to invest for the future, right? So one thing you want to do is, have you guys heard about compound of interest before? No?
Yes.
So think about like a snowball. Think about like a snowball, right? Como una bola de nieve. When you throw it down the hill, what happens? Does it get bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
Bigger, right? So same thing, that's what you want the compound of interest. You want to start today, roll down the hill, and make it go bigger by itself. So that's what you want your investments to do. So you just stay back, have money work for you versus you kind of doing all the management that way. So happy to, have that conversation. My services, I don't charge for my time. The way I get compensated is when I help clients through investments for the risk management. So when I help clients take a recommendation, the company I represent will pay me, right, for that way. So my clients don't pay me in that way. So I'm both a financial advisor and CPA. So I help clients with investments, but also think about the risk and tax rate at the same time. So it's a complement the way I do as well.
¿Usted recomienda poner a trabajar el dinero en el banco o con unas, ¿cómo se llama? Inversiones en el banco o no en el banco?
Pues depende de qué tipo de inversión tiene el banco, ¿verdad? Porque cada banco es diferente a lo que tiene en la bolsa de mercado. A veces no es lo mejor porque además tienen, haz de cuenta ir a McDonald's, ¿verdad? Sus opciones es más hamburguesas de McDonald's, ¿verdad? Eso es lo que tiene el menú. Pero si va a otra compañía como yo, ¿verdad? Vamos a abrir y tener diferentes menús, diferentes opciones, que no tienen nomás lo que tiene McDonald's. Entonces mucha gente quiere tener más opciones que invertir, más de tener, esas son mis opciones, más tengo que elegir dos opciones, yo quiero más. Eso es lo que ayuda a mis clientes también.
Okay. Una pregunta en el chat, ¿qué tipo de inversiones es lo que recomienda?
Sí, todo depende de su meta, ¿verdad? Si su meta es retirarse a 50 años, 30 años de ahorita, ¿verdad? Para esa cuenta va a ser como un RA, Roth IRA, 401ks. Esas cuentas son para retirarse, ¿verdad? Si piensa comprar una casa 5 años, en vez de poner dinero en el banco que va a crecer 1%, le puede poner un portafolio que puede crecer a 5 a 6%. Entonces, por ejemplo, tú tienes, en este año puse $10,000 que no le iba a gastar, ¿verdad? Ahora, hace 12 meses ha crecido a 30%. Entonces tengo $4,000, casi $4,000 que no gané de hacer nada. Entonces esos $4,000 que tengo, lo voy a hacer para vacaciones o barrer mi casa. y ese dinero no hice nada, ¿verdad? No está dinero en el bolsa de mercado. Si tenía el en el banco, me he llevado $1, ¿verdad? Entonces tienen que pensar otras maneras de hacer dinero en esa cosa también.
Can you repeat that now in English?
Yeah. Sí, sí. Entonces, para invertir, depende de qué uno quiero invertir, ¿verdad?
In
Para
English.
invertir. Disculpe.
In English.
Oh, English. Sí, en English and Spanish now.
Yeah. Yeah, can you repeat what you just said in Spanish? Can you say it in English?
Claro, ok. So, la gente quiere preguntar, ¿dónde quiero invertir? Así, la pregunta es largo plazo, como retira población. Mi recomendación es como ser un RA, un 401k. Esos esas, ¿cómo se dice? Objetos, esas cosas son especificadas para retirarte. Pero como les dije, ese dinero no se puede tocar hasta los 60 años. Lo puedes sacar antes, pero tienen que pagar los impuestos y pagar un penalty. No les conviene. Entonces tienen que invertir con una bolsa de mercado, un portafolio. Entonces, por ejemplo, si quieren comprar una casa a 5 a 10 años, en vez de poner en el banco que va a crecer 1%, le puede poner en la bolsa de mercado que puede crecer 5 al 7%.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Hello?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, I apologize. I'm a little under the weather, so I sound like I'm not making sense. But my question is, I understand the compound interest and you know, you put money aside, you're not gonna touch it for a while. Like you said, for example, you gave that example of your $10,000. Obviously, there's two sides to this investing. You know, you gain or you lose. How aggressive is your investments?
Yeah, so it depends. I'm really ultra-aggressive. I'm young, right? So I don't care if the market drops by 30%. I don't care. Because I know in the long run, 20 years from now, my money's gonna make money, right? So that's when people get very emotional, right? When they invest dollars, they look at their phone, oh my God, my portfolio just dropped 20% or $10. They look at it, they get their emotion out the way, right? But if you know the long term, that's the goal, you're not gonna think about money going down. So for example, like, you might hear, oh, Facebook, Tesla went down today. People are like, oh my God, what am I gonna do, right? But in the last 5 years, Tesla has gone up by almost 1,000%. But in the last week, it's gone up by 30%.
The mute?
So you gotta think about the long-term vehicle here.
Yeah, no, and I understand that part. The reason I asked, obviously I'm not young like you no more, you know, I'm 50. So if I'm gonna put, let's say 20,000 into something, what's the risk on that money? Obviously in 10 years, it's not gonna compound interest like if it was 30 years.
Exactly. No, great question. Something we recommend for you is more like a balanced portfolio. So it's half risky and half safe, right? So you might not earn 20%, but you might earn 5% consistently. You know, some years you might earn 2%, 1%, but on average, you're gonna earn 5% for the last 10 years. So it's one thing you can do, right? Or something you can do is open an annuity or your own self-pension. Have you heard about that before in the past?
No, I don't know. Maybe I have, but I would have to. You would have to explain it for me to. Oh yeah, no, I did. You know, like.
Well, have you heard about a pension before in the past?
A pension, yes.
Yeah. So you know, pension, as you may know, you walk away from retirement. That's money guaranteed until you pass away, right? That's what a pension was. Most people don't get that today, right? You need a 401k already by yourself today, but maybe your grandparents or people in the past had a pension, right? So what you can do if your job doesn't offer a pension, you can make your own pension. It's called an annuity, right? That vehicle can earn, depending where you go invest that money, you can earn between 2 or 3 guaranteed.
Okay? I got a question. What's the difference between what you're offering? Like right now, you mentioned a pension, and that kind of sounded similar. That's where my ignorance comes in to what the other younger guy was talking about. What was the lawyer?
Brian.
The trust where all your bank accounts are in. And so, I mean, would that be in a trust also?
Yeah. Exactly. So a lot of my clients, they're very successful, right? They're making over, $100,000. They have Roth IRAs, investment rental properties, all these investments. They want to one bucket because if you don't, the government doesn't take, kind of like Brian shared, the government doesn't take charge. So my dad, when he passed away, had 4 rental properties. It was over, a certain amount. And when he passed away, I had to pay $25,000 in court fees. And this is the second year he passed away. We still haven't finished the court fees. So it's important to talk to Brian like this. That's why I talk to Brian myself as well to help my client understand we got to build wealth, but also preserve it and protect at the same time.
Yeah. No, you guys got some good information, and thank you for doing this, because a lot in our culture, we don't really trust people with their money,
Yeah.
And we work hard for it, but we started with nothing.
Yeah.
But that's not how we want to end up.
Exactly.
Amen.
Can I chime in a little bit just because I wanted to clarify, because I know he said a lot of stuff in Spanish and I wanted you to get the grasp of everything. So one of the things that, and I was also, I'm not as experienced as Antonio, obviously, but I was also licensed in investments. To answer some of your questions, it is very specific to your own situation.
Yep.
So to answer your question about pensions and 401k plans, pensions is something that companies had back in the day. Unfortunately, that kind of got away from it. So that's why it's so important to sit down with someone like Antonio to create the wealth that you need to get the actual advantage of what a pension is. So for everyone that's on the call right now, a pension was offered by a lot of big companies as a retirement account, and it was guaranteeing you a rate of return versus what they have now as a 401k plan that can vary in return. So the 401k plans is very much based on your company and their earnings. Pensions were guaranteeing you a rate of return. So Antonio's services can offer you something that's similar to a pension where you're guaranteed a rate of return based on your financial picture, but in some cases, based on your age, how much you make, what your long-term goals are, you can maybe benefit from a product that you can invest in that's like a 401k that can give you more of a rate of return versus a pension, which gives you a guaranteed rate of return, but might not be as high as something that you're taking a higher risk. So if you're someone that's older and you want security, maybe you want to look for something that gives you the highest rate of return, but not so much risk because you're looking to retire in a very short amount of time. As opposed to someone like Antonio, I hate to say it, but you're a young one, right? So you have time to mess around with the market and you can take a higher risk. So understand this, guys. And I know I haven't talked to you, but the bottom line is this: the longer time you have, the more chances you have of risk. The longer time you have, based on Antonio's recommendations, you might want to take something more that's safe. And that's why it's so important, like you just mentioned, as a community that hasn't had a lot of education, to sit with someone who's a professional and has studied all of this to make sure that they give you recommendation that's best for you. So what's best for you might not be what's best for my son who's 24 years old. And it's very important to tailor any recommendations to your specific situation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for chiming in, Yvette.
Yeah, and does anyone else have any questions for Antonio? Remember, his information will also be emailed to you so that you can call him, make an appointment. And as Antonio said, he doesn't get paid by his clients. So that means that the information is free. And so he gets paid by the people who are recommended by him based on your needs. So those are not, so you are free to ask him without any concern on how much it's going to cost you. So, and that information will be there. Antonio, thank you so much for all the information. Appreciate it. We have one more person. You already met her because she also has a lot of information. And so Yvette, would you like to introduce
Yes,
Yvette?
she is Yvette Garcia, a Chicago native, but with Mexican blood. She's got that Latino push in herself. So she's got over 23 years of experience in helping the Latino community reach the dream of becoming homeowners. So she has led big groups in her financial life and guided so many people in getting their dream successful. So Yvette is going to share with you some good stuff. And at the end, we're going to have questions for her too.
And we also have a raffle coming up, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure I
So
win.
guys, thank you so much for joining us. Arturo and Silvia, thank you so much for that introduction. And I'm really passionate, as you can see, about the Latino community. I think there's a huge gap between generational wealth and education, right? So a lot of us, like myself, I was born here, but my parents were born in Mexico. And one of the things that I've really realized is the lack of power and empowerment that we have as a community in the Latino sector and the disadvantages that we have. And yet we're a culture that works the hardest that I've ever seen and has so much passion for family. So when I meet people like Antonio and Brian, and yes, guys, I started when I was 5. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I've been in it for a long time. Unfortunately, I had to learn some things the hard way. But when you have professionals like Antonio and Brian that are trying to help you, guide you, and it's like free information, I think it's so important to take advantage of that. So like I mentioned to you, my family was from Mexico. I was able to see the hardship of what it is for an immigrant to be able to obtain home ownership and a piece of the American dream. But it's not because we're not as smart as any other culture. It's not because we're not hardworking people. I've learned through my years that we are the most hardworking people. And it's just the fact that we don't have the acknowledgement and also the tools that we need to empower ourselves and build a future for our families that we should. So let me just start by starting with a few points. So like I said, I'm very passionate. I'm here to really empower Antonio and Brian to educate, and Arturo and Silvia as well, to lead you down that path. So just a little bit about what's happening with the market conditions. Let's talk about facts. Let's not talk about emotion. Like Brian said, right? My father died this year from COVID, and he was 68 years old. With that being said, it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to endure in my whole entire life. But it also stopped me in thinking of, wow, I saw this man bust his rear end to provide for me and to ensure that we open ways for our families moving forward in the generations after generations. But he left me with this. What have we done to help others, to empower them and set them up to the home ownership dream, right? Without struggling, because it's one thing to get there, it's another thing to stay there. And with Antonio and Brian, Arturo offer to the table, it's not about, hey, let me help you get a house. It's about how do you build wealth, stay in your house, and build generational wealth years to come. And that's when you have the will planning, the trust planning, the CPA planning, that all comes together. You can buy a house, but you can't maintain wealth unless you have all those components together. And that's really what I'm here to do. So let's talk about what's happening right now. We hear a lot about politics and all the nonsense that's going on in the news, right? What's happening right now is currently we have a lack of inventory, okay? We have statistics that show us that in the next 20 years, 70% of home buyers are gonna be Latinos. Are we ready? Are we educating ourselves not only to get the house, right, but to sustain the home ownership? Because I've met several people in 23 years that have been able to get there, but not stay there. And that's because of lack of education, lack of information that we're not aware of. So let's talk about that. So we know that Latinos right now don't have the advantage of generational wealth. I've lived it, I've seen it. Guess what? If some of my clients that have parents from another country, something went up, they don't have the money, their debt is deal. The deal is dead. Where someone who might have been here 3-4 generations down the line, they have something that comes up, guess what? Their parents are giving them a gift of $10,000, and there you go. They have the opportunity of owning a home without the struggle, you know. So this is where we come in as professionals to help educate you. And not only that, just like if you tell me there's something wrong with my car and you try to explain it to me, it's not that I'm not educated and I'm not capable of figuring it out. It's just that I don't know. So if you tell me parts and pieces of a car, I'm not a mechanic. So you can tell me whatever you want, but I won't know how to respond to it. So therefore, the best thing you can do with home ownership and in your investments is educate yourself. Learn what's out there for yourself. So let me just start with this. Like I just told you, a very powerful statistic. 70% of first-time home buyers will be Latinos. I don't care if you have papers, you don't have papers, if you have an ITIN, you don't have an ITIN. The reality is this, whether you like it or not, whatever side of the fence you're on, we're gonna be here. We're gonna be the majority. How are we going to set ourselves up to be successful, not only for ourselves, but for our kids, our grandchildren, and our grandchildren's kids, right? How are we gonna leave something behind? And that's one thing that I learned from my father passing away, that I am so blessed to be able to share with you. He might have not known the intricacies of how to plan something, but he knew how to get somewhere. And he taught me one thing, and one thing was this: you have to open doors for your family. Your responsibility is to get somewhere where you are now and open doors for your children so that and teach your children how to open doors for themselves. And with that being said, it's part of it is educating ourselves. It's not working harder, it's working smarter. There's grants out there for people who are the first generation purchasing a home in the United States. The government is giving up to $15,000 in grants and homeowners, assistance for down payment, grants for closing costs. Our company, I worked for the Federal Savings Bank. I worked for a big corporation for 14 years. I decided to go to the Federal Savings Bank a year ago, simply because they care about the community. I don't even care if they care about the Hispanics. They care about where the money's coming from, which is the Hispanic community. And that's that. So I don't even care what political side you're on. The bottom line is this, guys. We have an advantage in the sense of taking advantage of the opportunities that we're given. Please, there's 3% down opportunities for loans. There's 5% down for opportunities for loans. There's grants that give you $15,000, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for you to be able to know what it is to be able to be in the dream of the American dream, which is home ownership. Build some generational wealth. With the advice of Arturo, Antonio, and Brian, it's not about buying a house. It's about creating a long life dream. With that being said, for example, there's programs out there for people who have ITIN, people that are not legally here, but that are under the DACA program, that can buy homes for 3% down. Stop paying more for rent than you would to be your own landlord. Invest in yourself, whether it be with mortgages, financial planning, finding out where you can cut some money out for paying taxes. This is what the American that's been here generation after generation, and I don't want to say race because there's several races. I know Mexicans, I know Puerto Ricans, I know African Americans, I know Americans that have been here years over years. But I can tell you, there is an advantage with being prepared on how to go about your American dream. And the first step is educating yourself. So I'm here with Arturo and Antonio and Brian to help assist you with that. If you have any questions specifically to purchases or refinances, I can definitely help you with that. And on a more positive note, I'm very excited that all of you guys are here to join us because we're raffling off a $50 gift card for those that attended to be able to move on and use towards a Visa card or whatever you want to use it towards. But I really appreciate your time. And I really urge all of you guys to take advantage of the opportunities that you're given. I wish I would have with my parents, but unfortunately, that's why we're here, right? So move it, pay it forward. And with that being said, I was able to draw a little name from our little giveaway, and I have Maria Virgos, who won a $50 gift card.
Yay, nice.
Is she there out there? Maria, you have to be present. Maria Virgos?
Maria here?
I thought I saw her name.
She might have left.
Okay,
Yeah,
we can do another one.
Okay.
Should I do another one? Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I don't think she's here, so.
Okay, do we have an Alicia? Alicia, are you on?
Yeah. Okay.
You have just won a $50 card, so thank you so much for attending. Good luck to you, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Do you guys
I'm glad
have
I'm
any
here.
questions for me in the meantime?
Any questions? Any questions for Yvette?
I do have a question, Yvette. What's happening with the interest rate? I heard the Fed is not buying any more mortgages, so interest rates are going to tend to go up. Trying to balance a little bit the inflation and all of those things. What is going on with the market in terms of interest rates?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So there's two things going on, guys. So yes, inflation is definitely taking place. With that being said, the rates are still very low. So take advantage of that. The rates are going to go up. Inflation, technically, it usually makes the rates go up as well. But we're kind of in a very different, very special place right now because we have the virus and the COVID that's affecting worldwide. It's not only an issue that's happening here in the United States, but it's happening worldwide. So what's happening is this. Had we been in a regular market, the rates would have already gone up to like in the fours. But because we have that issue with the virus and the unemployment rate still kind of going up and down, the trade within the country going up and down and up and down, the Fed is not raising the rates as fast as they should. So what I'm telling you now is the rates were the lowest, but they're moving up. And I do not see and foresee them to stay the way they are. They're going to go up. Guys, I want you to understand something. I hear this all the time from clients. I don't want to refinance because it's in the threes. Let me tell you, as I've been doing this for 23 years. When I first started, the rates were 14%. That was the normal. I'm not saying that they're 14%, but I have news for you. A 3.5% rate is extremely low. And when it was lower than 3.5%, it was because people weren't employed, so they wouldn't be able to qualify anyway. So I want us to be realistic with what the market is. Right now, rates are low. Do not expect them to be high. They would have been already higher if we wouldn't have the whole COVID and all the viruses that are happening in unemployment rate. They would have been higher. So take advantage if you do have a home, refinance now. They're not going to go lower. And if they go lower, we're in big trouble. That's all I'm going to tell you. We're in big, big trouble.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks, Yvette. Well, does anyone else have a question?
Yeah. Yvette?
Yes.
Okay, my question was two questions. One is, let's just say Alicia and I, all right, we were taught obviously through the church and we've been following Dave Ramsey for a long time, but to be debt free. All right, our house, our balance is 17,000. We've had the money for a long time to pay it off, but is it better at this stage of our life to invest, like let's say with Antonio, or to buy more, invest in real estate? I don't know. It's what's to our advantage? Yes, what's the best way we can go at this stage of our life?
So it's, and I love that you're asking this question, because this is the passion that I have, right? Basically, this is my answer. This would be my own personal advice to you. It really does depend on what your long-term goals are. Okay. And the reason why I say this is because your long-term goals can be, I don't know what your financial setup is for your retirement. And this is the biggest part that we fail as a Hispanic community. We're working till we're 70 years old and then we retire and then we're done. That's not the way we're supposed to live, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to work to live, not live to work.
Yeah.
And that's where we have it upside down with the Hispanic community. So my advice to you would be this. You have to sit down and look at the big picture. What kind of streams of income do you have set up for your retirement? So my thing would be, and I can't answer this 100% because for myself, I want to retire in 10 years. If that's going to happen, God willing, it will or will not. But how am I going to set myself up to get more streams of income, whether it be investments, whether it be another real estate property? It really does depend. But what I will tell you to answer some of the question that you just asked me, rates are very low right now. So let me explain something. Rich people that have money and make money are not using their savings to make money, because what they're earning on the return on their savings is less than what they're paying on rates. Because the rates are so low right now, they're using that money to work for them. So let me just put it this way. If you were to get 1% on your return on your savings, okay, and you were to pay 3%, but get back $1,000 a month from an investment property that you invested in, what's going to be worth more to you? The 1% you're earning on the $17,000, $20,000 that you have, or the $1,000 that you're earning on that building that you might have bought as an investment that's paying you a rate of return?
Obviously, $1,000, yes.
But do you see what I'm saying, though? So it's So we need to sit down with you and see, I want to see what your expenses are versus your income. Let's see, then you talk to someone like Antonio and Brian, where they can tell you, okay, I don't know your name. I'm sorry. I see Alicia. So I don't want to call you Alicia,
Tony,
right?
Tony.
But let's say, Alicia, how much are you earning from that's 20,000 you have sitting there? Are you earning $100 a month, a year? Or are you earning $12,000 maybe because you're investing in a property that's giving you $1,000 in return? Does that make sense on how I'm explaining it? But I want to know what your 401k is. I want to know what your pension is, because again, God bless you. I lost my father this year. I have a mother and a father that were living this year. My mother worked for a company where it was owned by the state. It was run by the state. So she had a really nice pension plan. And she was getting a good amount every month for that pension plan. Then I had my dad, who busted his rear end and bought everything and anything, but didn't set himself up for retirement. When he passed, I had to pay for his funeral because he didn't even have that. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean that my dad didn't have more. It's just a matter of figuring out what the best option is for you. Yeah. So to that being said, your money can work more for you in properties, but we need to make sure that you have your safe security vehicle where you're not risking or investing money that you need to live with or for when you do retire. So everything you invest, in my opinion, guys, is for your children and for the generations to come. But you need to set yourself up for you too, so that you can retire successfully and know what it is to enjoy retirement.
Yeah.
Does that make sense a little bit? And I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
get
it does. Am I mute? Or?
No, you-
What is
no,
your name?
yeah,
I didn't get it.
Tony.
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 So like, for example, God bless
I'm sorry,
you.
go ahead.
Whatever you have in retirement, I would want to see in your 401k plan, just to be able to advise you. So I do loans for a living, but I've seen a lot in my years, people losing, making. So I would want to be able to base on your situation specifically, like, hey, don't invest this, like you should really invest in this. Because maybe, you know, stocks and bonds and investments might not be for you, or maybe a new property might not be good for you. It's a matter, or maybe you want to do both, but let's figure out what you need to do to get both.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
for the past maybe 3-4 years, we've talked about, right now, I think for us, what's more important is a will. You know, like Yvette, you know, Alicia lost her brother to COVID, and he was young, 47, but he you know, did pretty good. And he left a lot. And, you know, some of it was in writing. But the son, he only has one son, and there was a lot of legal situations, you know, obviously had to, because there was not in writing a lot of it.
And that's, I think, the biggest, we do things impulsively in the Hispanic culture sometimes, and I'm not speaking to all of us, right? I'm just speaking to my own experience, but we really don't think things through. So I have a whole bunch of family members and friends buy property in Mexico. Well, guess what, guys? Mexico's not the safest place to keep your stuff together, right? So you have to get your stuff together prior to leaving this world to ensure that things are done right. And you guys, I can't even tell you how many times as a young, somebody that started very young into the business, have I seen the struggles and the hardship that we create for ourselves for not having stuff in order. It's not that we didn't create it. It's not that we're not able to make it. It's just we're not able to manage it the right way. And some of the struggles that we have these old school mentalities of how our family used to do things, but the world has changed. We have to make sure we have that in writing. To your point, I had my mom who had a property in Mexico. Guess what? Little did we know that a tenant living there can take over ownership. So these are the things that we need to educate ourselves. And here's my mom struggling, trying to, like, you know, figure out what she has to do. But that's my point to your brother-in-law. And I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. Alicia, it's been the hardest thing ever, especially when it's not something that you are prepared for. But it tells us how important it is to plan for our future.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss too, Yvette. Like Tony was saying, the passing of my brother was an eye-opener for us. You know, my brother was young. He worked very hard for everything that he had. Being he only had one son, next of kin, it did go into probate, just a lot of things like Tony said. However, to that, my brother had life insurance policies that my mother is the beneficiary of. And it still boggles my mind to this day. Like, why would he put my mother, like, a child, you were supposed to outlive our parents, right? So, like, I don't know what it was, but he put my mother as a beneficiary. So now my mother all of a sudden has all this money. My mother has never worked in her life, but he put my mother as a beneficiary. So that's another thing that my other siblings and I are like, okay, now we need to sit down with mom and dad. Okay, you have all this money now that Martin left you. Now we need to talk to them, because my mother's like, I don't care about the money, you know, I will want my son back. But now Tony and I have to educate ourselves, because now we're in the situation where, like, we need to set things up for ourselves, but now I also have to be in a position to kind of guide my mother and my dad, because all this money now that they have. So it's like this. When I got this, saw this in Facebook from Sylvia, I told Tony, oh my gosh, we got to do this. this like came at the right time. So we're very like, we got to do this now. So, you know,
Guys,
with
if one
you,
thing I
Brian
have
and
learned
Antonio, we're like, we're gonna
Yeah.
start stalking you guys now.
Oh, but it's an eye opener.
All of
This
them.
is what you're saying, right? It happens. And remember, guys, when we're emotional, you don't make decisions. One thing my father left me with, and God bless his soul, was we think with our mind. That's why God gave us this, and we feel with our hearts. I won't tell you what he said after that. If you think with your heart, you just, you know what. But my father left me with that, and it's so true because unfortunately, we weren't given the, you know, as people that were born here, but maybe had ancestors or family members prior to your generation, born in another country, their only goal was to get us here to be able to continue to build our dream, but yet they weren't given the tools to be able to set us up. And that's why you and I and your husband now have to take the responsibility to figure that out. And unfortunately, you know, your brother actually, if you think about it, Alicia, your brother got one step further than many people have. You know, he left something behind, right? So your nephew, thank God, is not left with anything. But, you know, it took something like my job to figure out, like, hey, that this is something that I had to learn. I got to learn life insurance that was a little less expensive for my kids till they reach 30. Okay, it's higher. Why? Because if I died or my ex-husband died, one of us could be there for our kids. But after 30, if they haven't figured it out, I don't know what to tell you. You got to figure it out. So you see what I'm saying? So maybe I didn't have to pay so much when I first started but I could afford, in case something happened to me or my ex, that they could financially take care of my kids, my two boys. But now that they're 30, my life has, maybe my finances have changed a little bit because the need changed. And that's why it's so important to educate yourself, because we don't want to be in the positions like you just said. Thank God it was my father and my sisters and I could afford it. But what if it's your child? You know, in your case, we have to learn what we have to do. That is what generational wealth really is.
Thank you.
Tony and Alicia, it's so good to see you.
Mhm.
And so sorry for the things that you've been going through all this time. But it's so amazing that this conversation turned out to be so real.
Mhm.
And this is life. This is what we all go through.
Yeah.
And here you have 3 professionals that are really ready and able to help you. Please take advantage of that and also help them to continue their life goal to educate people and to bring them to a different level. So we are here, we're all here to help you. I'm glad that you are here tonight, and take advantage of all of these things, because if we don't, things are going to continue the same.
No, definitely. Like I
Yeah.
said, this came at the perfect time for us because, you know, I'm thinking about so many things, but no, God's timing is perfect.
That's right. Yeah, and that goes for everyone. I heard so many things, even on the questions, you know, some things for Yvette, some things that Antonio can help with, some things that Brian can help with. I mean, we will be sending the email out to everyone, and that email will have all of their information and all the things that they do, so you know who to go to for what. And we're always here to help. You'll get a newsletter, our weekly newsletter, you'll get that, and hopefully that will be helpful for you as well. If you guys have any ideas moving forward on any workshops that you would like, in fact, this workshop itself came because someone from a different workshop said that they would like information on this, and they were on the Spanish call. So, you know, we're here to serve. We want to serve our community. We want to serve our clients, our friends, and family is huge for us. And so it's huge for you guys, and anything we can do to help you to help your families, that's what we're here for. That's what we love to do. That's what Yvette and Brian and Antonio love to do. So give us a call as you see the need.
And then one thing that I just want to end with is the the fact that it took us for about a year to put this together, right? Was because
From
we
the time
were,
that we got the estimate.
yeah, we were looking for people that we can trust,
Mhm.
that we can put in front of you and know that you're going to be well taken care of.
Mhm.
So these guys are the real thing. We trust them with their own things. So you guys feel free to ask questions and to use their services with all knowing that you're going to be in good hands. Okay.
Thank you,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
Thank you.
you, guys.
And thank you, Sylvia and Arturo, for making this possible, guys. Honestly, there's more than just doing something to do it. I love your sincerity and your devotion to our community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Everyone
Thank you.
I want to say something. My English is not so great, but I really appreciate that you invited us to see this event. I was in the hospital. I thought I was going to die, not because of COVID, something different. And I was thinking, oh my God, I don't have a wheel. I have a house and I had 2 children. And what is going to happen? And I was so frustrated that I didn't think about it. And I don't know that people, and that's why when you send this message, I said, I have to be there. I have to, I don't know how to communicate in Zoom. I say, my husband, come on, you have to be with me. He works on Thursday and he's here, thanks to him. I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. And of course, I will communicate with you guys.
You know, I think what we'll also do, this is recorded, so we will send it out to everyone as well, so you can have it. And the Spanish one is also recorded. So I will send that to you too, so that you can have it in Spanish as well. Thank
Although
you.
this one became more real though.
You want to listen to both of them. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you for being here. You guys
Thank
have
you,
a good
thank you.
night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank
you,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.